Hi, I'm talking with Mariko Minaguchi, the writer and director of Relativity. Hi, Mariko.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
I'm a bit sick.
So, so let's just jump right in here. One of the things I wanted to ask you about the film, by the way, as I've already told you, I really enjoyed this film quite a bit. I found it very interesting. And it seems like you basically have like three timelines going on,
Yeah,
if I followed it correctly, and they're not all going in the same direction. Um, and so I was thinking, I've seen it twice now, and the story, it seems like even if the story were told in a straightforward way, it would already be a little complicated.
you think so?
And a little bit, yeah. And so I was wondering how you, as the writer and as the director, how did you keep everything in order? Did you have to go over things a lot, or was it very clear in your mind how it would work? How was that for you?
I mean, it's been a while now, so I wrote it 4 years ago. So, but I would say, I mean, I always followed my feelings. So, actually, I didn't develop everything before writing the script. So I actually just started, and somehow I always knew, okay, now we need a scene about Erin and Nora, and now we have to go back to Nathan, and so yeah, basically for me it was always easy to have the overview because it was very clear how it should be.
Hmm.
So
Did you ever question if everything was lining up and everything was making sense, or did it just seem pretty straightforward to you?
yeah, for me everything made sense, but I guess for the actors it was quite hard because, and then at some point I made a version of the script in the chronological order, so they have an overview about their emotional developments, and I
Hmm.
think this helped a lot. And yeah, but in general I think in a way it's still simple because you have like the ones, like you have the three timelines, and I mean the one is starting in the beginning and it just goes straight forward. The other one is, I mean, a little bit before, but it's still going forward. And the third one, it's the most complicated one, I guess. It's the one which is told backwards. But still,
Hmm.
I mean, these are the scenes with Erin and about their relationship. So I guess even if you don't get everything, if that's the right order or if it's not, it doesn't matter.
Hmm. And it almost feels until the audience members kind of understand what's going on, which I assume is going to uh, I assume everyone kind of experiences the film differently from each
Yeah.
other. Um, it almost feels like it's got some element of time travel or something like that in it. Was that ever an idea that you had?
Yeah, it's funny that you're saying this because um, before I worked on this, or like, you actually, I wanted to make a movie about time traveling, and that's the reason why I always had in mind like all these three timelines in mind. But then at some point, with every time travel story, you get to a point where it's where you have logical problems. So then, and I realized at some point, no, I have to change it. It's for me, it's about time and not about time traveling. And you don't
Mm.
need the part of like a time machine or anything like that, because time itself can be experienced differently.
Mm. And so tell me about your relationship with deja vu or fate, as those are fate versus chance, because those are some of the themes in the movie.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what your experience with that is.
I mean, I always thought it's cool to have a like a phenomenon which is not really explained by science yet. So a deja vu, there are so many explanations for it. So I think it's kind of a miracle, and I think it's a great um, yeah, tool to use to get the attention of the audience. So because everyone knows the feeling of a deja vu. It's not that I'm a person who have like particularly a lot of deja vus or anything like that. I haven't had one in a long time. But yeah, so but and the other question was about fate or chance. I mean, in the end, I think it's something I thought about all the time, because if something happened, like someone dies or anything like that, I think you always try to find explanations, or
Mm.
it kind of feels unfair, or you can't get the reason, and it feels like the world is just chaotic or something like that. So I mean, for me, the movie is actually not about the question if our lives are determined or if everything just happens by chance. For me, it's just about the, like, we can decide, because I mean, in the end, it's just two different words for the same thing. I mean, life just happens, and we cannot do much about it, or not
Mm.
about everything, at least. So
Right.
I mean, the only thing we really can do is to change how we see it. And I think,
Mm.
I mean, for some people, I mean, now about some people say the movie is about chance, and other people say the movie is about destiny. And I think it just reflects how you see the world. So yeah, but
Right.
in the end,
The
it's more
circum.
about the decision how to see everything that happens. Because I think, yeah, I mean, for me, it helps to see, to, if something happens, to try to find something positive in it.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, because we all, the circumstances that happen to us regardless. Was
Yeah,
it chance? Was it fate?
absolutely.
So yeah, that's really interesting.
I mean, it's
Um,
two
I
different names for the same dish in the end. We have no order.
right, right. And I also like the fact that there's a lot of parallel circumstances in the story. For instance, like there's a scene where Nora does this little trick for Aaron, and then the scene where and Nathan if I remember right, is doing like a magic trick, or and both of those characters actually commit very similar petty crimes, although the outcomes to those crimes are very different.
Yeah.
Um, um, how do you think people experience this film in terms of things like that? Because I think even when I was writing to you, I kind of mentioned it's a little bit of a mystery. Sometimes it feels like science fiction. It's a love
Mm.
story. Uh, how do you yourself experience the film, and how do you find that the audience has experienced the film when you've talked to them?
That's quite hard to say, because it's really, really differently. Because I mean, some people say it's a love story. Some people say it's a thriller or something like that. I mean, for me, I mean, I never before, or while developing, I never thought about a specific genre. I just wanted to tell the story, and for me, it was more like interesting to have more like a mix of different genres.
Mhm.
I guess when you talked about like the bracelet or the chewing gum trick,
Mhm.
for me, I guess those are the things um, for me. It was never about convincing the audience that it's reality. I mean, it's a story, and I mean, if you think about the name, it's of course it's not reality,
Mhm.
and it's I guess the film is there. The idea was always not to convince the people, that the audience, that these stories are real. It's more like forgetting that it's not real and that they are not
Mhm.
in reality. And even in a fiction film, because of course it's very constructed with the, like, all the characters, how they are defined, and in the end with the stem cells and everything. I mean, it's not a story from real life. Let's be
Mhm.
honest. So, but
Right.
that was never the goal. Because, but it's some people had a problem with it, that it's so constructed. But I think that's a very German thing, actually, because most of the German films are very realistic.
Mm. Yeah. No. This has I like the mix of genres in here, and it has feels like it comes from a unique perspective. It's a specific kind of story you wanted to tell. Even the little subtleties of the Nora and Aaron's names being each other's names backwards. And,
Mm.
I didn't even realize until I watched the film a second time that Natan's name is the same forwards and
Yeah,
backwards as well.
and his
So
daughter Ava too.
right, right. See, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter in the end. So
Right. So it's nice little attention to detail and things like that that I think just give it takes it a little bit out of the conventional film world and makes it into kind of its own thing,
mhm.
which is something that I really enjoy. Uh, I feel like a lot of the film really depends on the audience investing itself in the character of Nora.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, but at the same time, her character is a little elusive. It's a little
Yeah.
hard to get to know her, a little hard to know what
Mm.
she's thinking. How did you work her character out?
Um, I think that's that's a good one too. Um, so I mean I would say like Nora and Aaron are like these two characters are actually me, like my inner conflict, and
Mm,
or my two sides. And for me, Aaron was always like the light, and Nora is the darkness.
mm,
And I don't. I mean, you both need both. So and you need the darkness to see where the light comes from. And so yeah, so that's like how she is. And I think she's not really ambition compared to Aaron. And but I think it's we always think people have to find their thing or they have to be ambitious, and I think it's for her it's really okay to just do what she wants to do, and to just exist. And um and in the beginning, it was really hard to convince our partners in the financing process that that she's a heroine in a way. And because they always like, yeah, what's a problem or what's her thing or anything. But in the end, when I mean, we had this wonderful actress, Saskia Rosendahl, and I think like, I mean, most of the credit goes to her because I mean, she's approachable, but still there's something really like, yeah, she's from another world. So yeah, she combines both. I hope this. Uh, I mean, I this answered your question.
No, it's good because I actually was curious about Saskia in terms of what, like, what did she bring to the role that maybe it was hard for you to put down on paper? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, almost everything actually, because I mean, on the paper it's just words, and I always had her in mind when developing the screenplay, because I start from the beginning that she's a brilliant actress and
Mm,
very unique in Germany. So having her in mind, I mean, I think that helped a little bit to know while writing. Okay, she will, even if it's not really there and it's not like directly translated into the screenplay, she will do it on the screen. And so yeah, she did an amazing job, and she was really invested. And we were, I mean, she was on board like almost a year before we started shooting, so we
mm,
had a lot of time to prepare. And we spent a lot of time together. And she visited me in Munich, and we had like a week or so to just get to know each other and to gain some trust. And this was really important for me because it was my first feature film, and I
mhm,
was so excited. And I always knew, okay, if our relationship works, if she understands what I want and I understand her, then I mean that's 80% of
mhm.
what do I, well, yeah, what's important. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, because it was interesting, particularly as we were talking earlier about the whole aspect of genre. What's the genre of this film?
Mm-hmm.
And even as you were talking with some potential investors and they're trying to understand the character, I was even already wondering at that point in time if how much of that of you not being part of the traditional film school gave you the freedom, whether you knew it or not, to to develop this kind of thinking, this kind of writing that was more your own voice and less influenced by
Mm.
the voices of teachers. And not that that's a bad thing either. It's just
Yeah. No, I think there's not the right way. Everyone has to find his own way.
right. It's fate versus chance.
Yeah. Maybe it should have happened like this. Like, wow. Yeah.
Who knows?
It had to happen like this.
So also, so my so I'll preface this question. My wife is Korean American, and so we have
Yeah.
2 children, and I always find it. I always enjoy having conversations with people who are from a mixed background. That's part of my childhood growing up, moving around different areas. I've known different people from different ethnicities, different communities, nationalities. So I was curious for you growing up in Germany, which is still prominently a pretty white place.
Yeah.
I know there's a reasonable number of immigrants now. Um, I was wondering how that impacted you growing up, if you felt like that was part of your life, if that was something that you didn't really think about much. Because I'm also wondering how much of that you think plays into your writing or your creative process. I asked
Yeah,
about 5 questions, I know.
a lot. I mean, I think it's more maybe like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because I grew up in a village or in a suburb of Munich, and I mean, in my class or in our village or in the suburb, there were like 2 Asian families. So and if I think the other one is now one of my producers, but it was a really white place, and my father, oh, he's Japanese, and I mean, Japanese for German, it's fine. I mean, it's like good foreigners in a way. It's very weird,
It's
but
the same. It's the same here.
yeah, they don't come to Germany to steal your employ, like your work or anything.
Right,
So
right.
it's, I mean, it's, but still you're different, and I don't look particularly Japanese. So and so my father always taught us that we have to work twice as hard to be like as good or to have the same chance as the others have. So I think somehow it was good to give us an awareness how the world is, unfortunately. But still, I mean, I think for if you're a child or if you're really young, it's not really good for your self-confidence. So I guess I mean, I always had the feeling that I really have to work hard to be part of, to become part of the society and to earn my place. So and I mean, as I said before, I hate going to school, because I mean, it's a place where people, like just white young people with a lot of money, and everyone is just the same, and that's what everyone wants to be. I wanted to be like the others, of course, and but I wasn't, and so for me it was amazing at some point to discover making movies. I was always fascinated by cameras, and then at some point I finally got camcorder, and from this moment I recorded everything, and I learned how to use Final Cut and everything. So, and for the first time in my life, I had the feeling, oh, I can do something, and it's not just about popularity or about school and grades. There's something else, and there's another world I haven't seen yet. And then at this point, I also thought, okay, I mean, as a child, I always wanted to have like a very German name, because every time my teacher read my name, it was always like, oh, how to pronounce it, or they just called me Mikado Tamagotchi or something like that. I mean, it's crazy. But and at this point, I said, oh, great. So maybe it's good to have this very uncommon name, or at least in Germany uncommon, because then you can become a director. So yeah, it helped me a lot to to find like movies and to get to experience it.
That's interesting. Do you feel like, and this may be, I don't know if you can answer this. Do you feel like having, so you had a little bit of that feeling of being an outsider, I
Yeah,
probably.
absolutely.
Do you
Yeah.
feel like that influenced the kinds of films you were drawn to?
Mm, I'm not sure if the feeling to be of being an outsider influenced the movie, but I think like changing perspectives, maybe
Mhm,
that's more I think about like being half German, half Asian,
mhm,
and actually I was influenced by Japanese movies because were always allowed to watch Miyazaki movies when I was a
mhm.
child, to learn Japanese, and so and I'm sure you know Miyazaki's movie and the
My daughter
Miyazaki, and
loves all the Miyazaki
yeah,
movies.
they're amazing. And I
Yeah,
mean,
I love
it's
them too,
incredible.
actually.
In the like in the 70s and 80s, he always like created very strong female characters, which
Mhm,
yeah, now they're doing the same in Hollywood. But but how like all like to have a story and how to yeah, for example, the scene with the magic bracelet in Relativity, I think somehow that's very influenced by the Japanese cinema, but
mhm.
it's not something like I real it was not a conscious decision. I realized that when we went to festivals and people always said, oh, like they have like this Japanese feeling.
Hmm, interesting, interesting.
Yeah. And but on the other side, I was really influenced by the American or US indie cinema, like
Sure.
Mike Cahill
Mhm,
and yeah, all
yeah,
these wonderful science fiction indie films.
that's great. Mariko, I really appreciate you spending your time with us
Yeah,
this afternoon, or morning, your afternoon. And again, I really enjoyed the film quite a bit. I really wish that you could have been out here with us,
yeah.
but unfortunately, that's not the situation we have right now. But maybe we'll get to see your next film out here.